Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sound Collision Radio. I am your host, Conquest, and we are here in the studio. We've got a little more fixing up to do, but we are getting close to being complete. As you can see, we now have multiple angles. Well, you will see during the course of this, but I just want to thank you guys for tuning in, for being a huge support in what I am doing. That includes music, this podcast, just anywhere you guys have been showing support, and that support doesn't come by financial means or anything like that, uh, which is not the important thing here. It's you watching, you learning from it, and you taking the things that I'm speaking about, and even doing music on. That's you just taking it and just engaging, um, and and maybe implementing some of it in your life, uh, to help you make change. Um, so today, I wanted to talk about fear, um, and I know that this is a tough and maybe a heavy subject for some of you guys, maybe a sensitive subject. And I jotted some things down because I do have a tendency to ramble, but I jotted something down. I had this thought in mind uh, a couple days ago, maybe a few days ago, uh, and it just came to mind in a certain way, and I wanted to share it with you. And I'm gonna just stop rambling now, but I'm gonna go ahead and read this, and then I have something to share with you. All right. So when we think of fear, especially men, it's seen as a sign of weakness. We are quick to say, "Me? No, I'm not scared of anything." We quickly go to the thought of fear as if it means scared in a way that's easily recognizable to a societal way of thinking. And that's just how you learned to perceive fear. But what if fear is actually more deep rooted and often misunderstood in our day to day lives? What if we suddenly figured out we are making most our decisions and choices because of some type of fear? I believe this to be a huge factor for us all. Fear can be hidden as critical thinking and mask itself as false discernment, ultimately leading to consequences that seem out of our control, but are actually far from being out of our control. That was a huge one when it came to my mind, um, because of a lot of the decisions that I make even today. This morning, for example, me shaving, I've been looking scruffy for a little while now, because I haven't been feeling too good uh, with my health issues. Uh, Motivational wise, me shaving after battling to get through my work days, I just didn't want to do it. And finally, someone said, "You look like you're in a ton of pain." And I know part of it was because I have not shaved. I had not shaved, and I'm like, I can't do this podcast without shaving. What are you going to think? You know. So here's an example of fear. Um, Fear can be it could just force us to make some really bad decisions. And I wanted to tell you about a recent fear driven decision I made just the other day and the consequences that could have followed if I had not surrendered my thoughts, my feelings, and my doubts to God. Um, just like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I thank you all for the support you've given me. And I use the tools that I can get. I don't have all this money to buy all these elaborate things to build such a strong, you know, looking podcast, to go sit in somebody's studio. I mean, this studio is in my basement, and I'm very grateful to have what I have right now. This table was a banquet table. I got some wood from work, and I had an idea, and I went with it, and I put a facade, if you want to call it, in front of this banquet table just to have something and some cheap lights, you know, it's things like that. And some people might never guess that that's what I did, you know. Uh, but the same went with my music. I had in 2022 released an album called Wars from Within, which was a part two of a previous album I dropped. Um, However, with this album, this is me going head to head with uh, my inner demons, my emotions, things that were causing me issues. And it's where I face off with those demons. And I did not have a face. I had names, but I didn't have a face for that, you know. And I've consulted with friends. My fiance, she helps a lot with it too. And um, I got sent a picture of a guy. It's black and white, and it's kind of like a clown face. And I said, "Wow, that just speaks to me." You know, it was like hitting a nail on the head. And so I used it. I used that photo, and I said, "This, you know, this is amazing." And my music, I don't charge for it. I put it out there in hopes that if there's anyone else going through the stuff that I've either been through or I'm still going through, it might be a useful tool for them to start thinking about their lives and changing their decisions, um, so that they don't have to go through the same things I went through, you know, or that I'm going through right now. Maybe you can change your trajectory from where I've gone. So I use this picture. Fast forward to recently, I wake up in the morning. Uh, you know, I talk to God, drink a cup of coffee and stuff, and you know, and then I'll let the world in. Um, well, I open up my Facebook, and I got this notification in my Facebook request because I was waiting for trying to get a gas dryer for for home from the marketplace on Facebook, and so I check um, my message requests because I saw that there was this like indicator on there. I click on it, I look at it, and it's a message that I just did not expect to get. And this message is a cease and desist letter. It's got demands in it telling me to stop using it, to remove it from everywhere that I have it. Um, and I have 7 days to reply for this message. And I have to notify them that I took the efforts to take everything down, and pay $3,000. And that hit me hard. I got nervous, you know, that fear set in. And my first initial thought, um, yeah, I had a couple, was ignore it. This might be fake. This might be not even real. On top of it, when I read the message, the 7 days had already passed before I even noticed it. Next thing you know, I get a notification from Facebook saying that they took down some things because of copyright infringement. Um, like I said, one of my thoughts was to ignore it. If I had ignored it, um, the cease and desist letter says, no response, you'll be subject to a lawsuit um, a government agency with a government agency, and the lawsuit would be for the maximum amount of $150,000. Now, those of you that are close to me know I can't afford that. I couldn't even afford the 3 grand. So I pondered it all day. I went to work. And keep in mind, I'm already struggling for the week with my body having these issues and just trying to get through today, trying to take care of my family. And I have this thought, you know, and I'm going back and forth between just ignore it and not. Um, I get home and I talk to my fiance about it, or I was talking to her on the way home. And I said, I'm just going to message this person and I'm going to talk to them, and let them know what my situation is. And I wasn't trying to steal anything from anyone. I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. Um, and I sure am not getting rich off of it. Uh, so I engaged in that conversation, and I did not expect it to go where it went. Um, Immediately, it was I messaged and I explained my situation. I apologized, and rightfully so. That person was angry, and then she explained to me why she was angry. That picture, she took that picture. She's an artist, and she took that picture of her husband who was in the military, um, when they were stationed back in 2014. Took that photo during Halloween, and he had something go terribly wrong to where he's not in his normal self, and that is one of the last photos that she has before he ended up how he is, and that's not my business to tell you. That hurt me. Those of you that know me, I have a story to tell that I have not really talked about. Um, so I told her, and immediately looking through her information, her Facebook page, and what she does for art, I was judging, and before I even decided to talk to her, and I was like, "Oh, great! This is a uh, she doesn't follow Christ. She probably believes all these things, and that's it. I just met my grave, uh, and I just destroyed my family." So when she told me that, I said to her, if you don't mind, I don't know where your faith is, and if you follow Christ, but my family and I, we're going to pray for you. Um, and when I said that, she followed back with, "I'm Catholic." And here we were in a situation that should have been so bad that I shared some of my stuff with her. She shared with me. And there we were talking about God. I just, I couldn't believe it. We were talking about God, and I told her, I said, if you ever need to vent about anything, I said, I completely understand why you were angry. If you want to, move forward with anything you need to do, that is your sole right to do so. Do what you need to do. You are doing nothing wrong but supporting your family and defending them, as well as yourself. Uh, And I said, but my family and I are going to continue to pray for you, and the situation that you faced. And it just, with a snap of a finger, everything changed. And she's like, "I'm not going to sue you. Don't worry about it." She said, "Just if you don't mind, please just take it all down. So you don't have to take your music down or nothing. I said, I'm going to do, I promise. And that night, I stood up, contacting everywhere I possibly could, and I got it down. Which you will not be able to find that music anymore. I believe my distributor said it was going to take about 7 days, and I think I'm within the 7 days still. But what a change! If I had reacted off of fear, things could have been wrong, completely wrong. I would never been able to talk to this woman the way that I did. Um, we would have never talked about God. It would have been possibly too late. And one of the things I said was, if you ever need a vent, talk, anything, I said, please don't hesitate to reach out. If you need prayer, don't hesitate to reach out. There is nothing wrong with having brothers and sisters across state lines. She's all the way in North Carolina. And it was just gratitude, gratefulness from both of us after what could have been a hostile situation. And I'm thinking to myself, like, it doesn't matter. Your best intentions doesn't mean that you're going to have an amazing outcome. And sometimes fear, you can mix the two. Having fear that's hidden in the background subconsciously, you could be trying to make a decision that you think is with great intentions, and it has these dire consequences. And that could have been my situation, but that didn't happen. All because I surrendered it to God. And I decided I wasn't going to take a wheel in that situation. And one thing that brought to mind, which moving forward, now that you know, in case any of you are looking for that, you will not find it. And I'm not going to put it back up, because what it taught me was I needed to let go of my past. That music talked about my past. And I, as some of you have seen, have been trying to glorify God and do music that's more God honoring and represents my faith, my belief in Him, my trust in Him, and the walk that I'm on, as well as my family and the members of my church and my friends that I have made there, that honors all of it for what God is giving me, the gifts. And what that made me think of is this, and I'm going to read this to you, what I wrote today as I thought about this podcast. None of us want to be slaves to anything. The moment we are stuck doing something we don't want to do, we immediately jump to the thought of slavery. So fear can make us slaves to it too. Why aren't we fighting to not be slaves to it the same way we fight to not be slaves to anything else? We look at our jobs, but sometimes we just take a job because we need the money, and then later we're crying that we're slaves at our jobs. And we fight to find another job. I don't want to be a slave in this narcissistic relationship. So you fight to get out of it. We don't fight to get away from the fear that drives us to make those bad decisions. We don't fight as hard to do that. We are slaves to it. But why is it so hard? Why is it so hard for us to get away from it, to fight? We don't. And we've seen postings all over the place, and maybe not as popular, but it says face your fears and things like that. Did God create those for us to get away from fear, as He told us in the Bible not to fear? And then there's other things just putting barriers in front of us so we'll never understand it fully. I don't have an answer of why it's so hard, but I know that recognizing it is the first step in the battle. Maybe we need to sit and evaluate why we are making certain decisions and ask ourselves, is this fear talking or is it fact driven? Once you begin that journey, I promise you, things will start to change and you will feel the shackles of that slavery begin to slip. Promise you, just the situation and the times that I have faced fear, you feel that relief. You feel that relief, that weight is lifted off your shoulders. You can walk again, not being tied down. Just imagine if we did that with everything. No matter what you choose, no matter what plan you have, ultimately the choices aren't solely ours, and there is a plan for you. God's plan and his plan conquers all plans. No matter what, he will see his plans through. The most he can do is maybe prolong it for a bit, but either way, his plan will take effect on his time and his choosing according to maybe what you're supposed to learn in that process and what may give you the opportunity to draw closer to him. That rock bottom moment is what you got to reach sometimes. And that rock bottom moment can either be death, that could be your rock bottom, death. That's when you're going to finally realize, and that's when you're in front of him. It could be that death could be your rock bottom moment, or it could be clarity while you're still alive that pushes you to cry out to him and build on a relationship that he wants with you. Everybody's battle is different, and your rock bottom might be different. I hope and pray that what we're talking about today, what I'm mentioning, and this subject, it provokes your thoughts. I hope it provokes you to think really hard. Maybe you're facing a decision right now that you need to make. I hope it provokes you to make a different decision. Not only that, as a good friend of mine said recently, not only do I hope that it provokes your thoughts, but as Ryan Greifenkamp said, I hope it provokes action for you. God bless you all, and I hope you have a fantastic, God filled weekend with your families.